السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اجعلنا منهم ومن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر آمين يا رب العالمين. ثم أما بعد, I would like to first ask all of you to give a round of applause to our amazing volunteers that put this conference together. I usually come and attend conferences, and I barely get to see the work behind the scenes. And I've been almost entirely hands-off in putting this program together. I just had the crazy idea, and I had people crazy enough to really give up their lives for the last couple of months to put this together. And I'm really, really grateful to all of them that have lost countless hours of sleep and have sacrificed time with family to help all of us put this really awesome program together. And I ask all of you not just for your applause, but to make lots and lots of dua for them and their families. Now, the passage that I wanted to share with you is something I've spoken about briefly, at least, in another occasion. But I'm so moved by this one passage, and it really complements what my colleague and teacher, Sheikh Abdul Nasser, has also shared with you. That conversation was from a son talking to the father, and the conversation I'm going to be sharing with you is a father talking to the son. In Surah Luqman, Allah Azza wa Jal honors this figure, Luqman, about whom there's a conversation whether he was a prophet or a noble figure that Allah had just inspired with wisdom, but that conversation is secondary. To us, what's primary is that Allah, who mentions so few names in the Quran, honors him by mentioning his name. That is enough for us from one point of view, that Allah Azza wa Jal honored him. And a surah is dedicated by his name. And then even the way he's talked about, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةِ. We're the ones that had given Luqman wisdom. You know, in the Arabic language, there are multiple ways of communicating something. لَقَدْ أُوتِيَ لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةِ. Luqman was given wisdom. Allah says, no, we gave Luqman wisdom. فَيَنْسِبُ إِلَى نَفْسِهِ. He attributes the giving of wisdom to himself, and Allah Azza wa Jal usually does that in the Quran when something is of value and importance, and Allah wants us to appreciate a special favor from him. So Allah didn't just tell us that Luqman was wise. Allah tells us, Luqman radiallahu anhu, Allah gave him wisdom, meaning that is a special favor from Allah. But then again, there's something else that kind of grabbed my attention. In the Arabic language, there are several possibilities for communicating giving. In this case, Allah giving Luqman wisdom. There's i'ta, like we read, all of you know the short surah, Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. There's hiba, wa haba yahabu, to give as a gift, to grant. There are various words used for giving. But the most generic of them, the most natural of them, the easiest flowing of them, if you will, and the most commonly occurring is al-ita, the one that's used. So even though Luqman is special, and Allah highlights that he's been given something very special, it's not exclusive to him. It's not something that only he's been given. There's no ikhtisas in the ayah. But even by the use of the word, Allah is suggesting this wisdom that you're going to learn about isn't just about Luqman, it's about all of you. Even that is communicated, embedded inside the word atayna. We're the ones for sure that gave Luqman wisdom. Let's talk about wisdom for a second. Al-hikmah. That's easily translated wisdom in English. When we think of people that are wise, we usually think of old age. Or we think of people that, post epic tweets. Or have quotes that you go, wow, that was deep. That was amazing. Or poetry that's deep, especially if it doesn't make any sense to you, must be yourself, this one's really wise. That was deep, But we usually think of these abstract or high philosophical types of things when we think about wisdom. The Arabic definition of wisdom, because the Arabic language, as beautiful as it is, the Arab people were very direct in their thought. And that's communicated in how they formulated meanings in their language. The simplified meaning of wisdom, or hikmah really, in the Arabic language is two parts. It's knowledge and action together. It's very simple. I can't even explain that to the children. It's very simple. You know something, but sometimes that's not enough. Like my children, I tell them not to do something, but you'll find it with your children and mine, sometimes they'll do things that you told them not to do. And when you ask them, why'd you do it?
didn't you know? Well, yeah, I did know. I did know, but I didn't act on it. Wisdom is when you know something and you what? You act on it. Now some people act, but they act without knowledge. That's also a lack of wisdom. Wisdom is when you have knowledge and you have the ability and you have the commitment to act on it too. And that's why maturity, one of the words in Arabic for maturity and good decision making is hukm. Like the thing that was given to Yusuf alayhi salam, the quality that was given to Yusuf alayhi salam as he became an adult. The quality that was given to Musa alayhi salam as he came up. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ وَاسْتَوَى آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا. So the ability to make good decisions and to be mature, this is wisdom. Wisdom is not somebody who read lots of books sitting in the library and quote these deep quotes. That's not wisdom. It's something much more basic, much more fundamental than that. And now we have to turn to, well, what knowledge and what action? Because knowledge is such a huge thing, and action are all kinds of actions. But Allah does this in His kalam, خَيْرُ الْكَلَامِ مَا قَلَّ وَدَلَّ. He summarizes the entire thing. You would think of wisdom as chapters and chapters and volumes of books, but for this one man who was given wisdom, Allah summarizes the entire juice of it in anishkur lillah. Everything that we're going to learn about this man is going to be based on this one small phrase. Allah says, and I'm going to translate again inadequately in English, we gave Luqman wisdom, for sure we had given Luqman wisdom to be grateful to Allah. To be grateful to Allah. To me even, it's an inadequate translation. And it's very difficult to literally communicate what Allah is saying here in the ayah. So let's try to do that piece by piece. The climax of wisdom is gratitude. That's the first thing we're learning. To be grateful. And that will drive everything else in your life and mine. This man is going to talk to his son. How many people here with children? Okay, and the rest of you are children. So your parents are giving you advice. And a lot of times, and I have experienced this plenty of times in my travel, parents coming up to me and saying, I don't know, I lose patience with my children. I don't know how to talk to them. My child doesn't pay attention in his studies. She doesn't listen to me. This one does this one does that. There's all these complaints. But before you go down the road of complaints, the first thing Allah gave this man, before we even learn about him talking to his son, is that he is grateful. The question is, grateful to what? He's grateful to Allah, but for what? For everything in his life. He finds an opportunity to be grateful. So before we even go further, we're going to use this as an excuse to be grateful for the gift of children. No matter how much difficulty you're having with your children. No matter how much difficulty you're having communicating with your children, they are in the end still a gift from Allah. They are still something we're going to be grateful for. Now in the Arabic language you could say, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةَ أَنْ يَشْكُرَ لِلَّهِ. And my English translation probably wouldn't be any different. We gave Luqman wisdom so he be grateful to Allah, so that he could be grateful to Allah, or to be grateful to Allah. But the Arabic language, ushkur, is fi'il amr, it's a command form. Be grateful to Allah. This opens up a lot of doors of reflection. Allah gave this man wisdom, and the wisdom is in quotes, be grateful to Allah. Now when somebody gives somebody a command, this is going to sound like an Arabic class, but still, when somebody gives someone a command, is that second person or third person? That's second person. A lot of Quran intensive and dream students here, so they answer quickly, mashallah. Second person, you're talking to someone. Well, the question is, if he has this wisdom, he realizes who is directly communicating with him all the time. And what communication is he giving to him immediately? Because a command is immediate and it's direct. And the second person implies closeness. Who's already close to him? Allah Himself. That's wisdom. To recognize that Allah is close to you, and to recognize not that I should be grateful, but Allah is telling me, be grateful. I should be compelled to be grateful. I should feel obligated to be grateful. It's not something I take lightly. You know how we say things and at the end of it all we say Alhamdulillah? How's it going? Just got laid off. Well, Alhamdulillah. But the Alhamdulillah is not really Alhamdulillah. It's like the opposite. So how's your brother doing? Him? Yeah, Alhamdulillah. But the idea of feeling compelled from Allah, this obligation, I need to be grateful. That's captured in the command form. That's very hard to translate into English. Anishkur lillah. The other thing that's captured here, so two things so far, the closeness of Allah and the gratitude to Allah, that's wisdom. But then he realizes he's not alone in this boat. And gratitude to Allah is not limited to just Allah. Because if you say in the Arabic language, Lillahi shkur, be grateful only to Allah, almost implying nobody else. And ishkur lillah, be grateful to Allah, but it leaves room to be grateful to others also. As we read this passage, we're going to learn we have to be grateful to our parents too. Allah does balance the conversation. Father is talking to children, and then Allah says, well, children, don't you start thinking that I'm letting your parents have it, and you have no obligations. Let me tell you, anishkur li wa liwalidayka. You have to be grateful to your parents also. That's coming in this passage. So a manifestation of being grateful to Allah is being grateful to people. Appreciating what others have done for you. Looking at everything they've done for you. And this isn't just restricted to parents and children. It's across the board. Our employers, our communities, our neighborhoods. We constantly complain about things that we should be grateful for. Whoever doesn't thank the people hasn't thanked Allah. It's a common expression even found in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. We have to be grateful to the things around us, the facilities around us. And the Muslim says, no, I only believe in Allah, I'm grateful to Allah, but these kuffar and their big convention centers. We have to be grateful for the opportunities, the facilities, the amenities that we enjoy in life, wherever they come from. This is part of who we are. This is part of being grateful to Allah even. Now, وَمَنْ يَشْكُرْ, whoever is grateful, فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ, then he's only being grateful for himself. The only beneficiary of gratitude is yourself and myself. Usually, in every other circumstance, if you do something nice for me, I say the least I can do for you is what? Thank you. The least I can do is thank you. Or maybe even give you a gift as a token of my thanks, a token of my appreciation. But, in the case of Allah Azza wa Jalla, whoever is grateful is only grateful for his own self. And actually here Allah did not repeat, Yashkur lillah. He didn't repeat again, whoever is grateful to Allah only does so for himself. He says whoever is grateful only benefits himself. In other words, us being appreciative of things around us will help us personally. You're going to be a less grumpy person. You're going to become optimistic in your life. You're not going to be as depressed. You're not going to look at the glass half empty all the time. Being grateful will help you. Not just in the akhirah, even in dunya. فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ. He's doing this for his own self. You're going to see the brighter side of things all the time. Its benefits will manifest in every aspect of life. فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ. Some of you will go through challenges in life and experience failure or difficulty. And even in that you will be grateful and say, even though this didn't go the way I planned, I am grateful I learned a lesson. I learned something that will better me in the future. I learned something that will make this project even stronger next time. I failed this, but I will succeed next time because I'll never fall in this again. And even failure is a lesson. Failure itself is a form of education. You just become grateful. You don't become depressed. فَمَنْ يَشْكُرْ فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ. Now again, a small language lesson to share with you. In the Arabic language, we have, just like any other language, you have tenses. Present tense, past tense. You tell me the difference. Which of them happens multiple times? If I say to you, I go to school. I go to school. As opposed to saying, I went to school. Which of them suggests that something's happening multiple times? I go to school. I go to school could be I go to school every week. I go to school every day. I go to school whenever I feel like it, etc., etc. I went to school means it's done. It's a one-time thing. It's done. It's over. I eat sandwiches. I ate a sandwich. There's a continuity in I eat sandwiches, right? There's also a health risk, but still. There's a continuity in the present tense. Now, whoever thanks Allah, whoever is grateful for his own benefit. وَمَنْ كَفَرْ, and whoever was ungrateful, whoever disbelieved, there are two translations, I'll prefer for now, whoever was ungrateful. When Allah talked about being grateful, He used the present tense, as though our gratitude should continue, just like the present tense continues. And whoever was ungrateful, as though our ingratitude should become a thing of the past. It's as though Allah expects it. يَنْبَغِي أَنْ يَنْقَطِعْ. It's good for it to be discontinued. If it happened, make sure it's a thing of the past. وَمَنْ كَفَرَ. Another benefit of that is your gratitude will never come to an end. You can't say, I already did thank Allah like 2 hours ago. It's over. No. It's something that continues. What do you mean thank my mom? I just thanked her. Mother's Day, I don't remember what it was. I already thanked her. I don't need to do that again. No, it's the present tense. It continues. But when it comes to disbelief and ingratitude, which in Arabic happen to be the same word, how ironic, that disbelief and ingratitude are the same word. Even if it happens once, it's enough, it's done. Whoever does kufr on Allah once, they could do it 20 times over after that. That first time is the one that disqualified them. It's over at that point. وَمَنْ كَفَرَ. And now look at this wisdom. Allah addressed him in the beginning of the ayah. He realized Allah is in direct communication with me when He obliges me to be grateful. There's a communication between the master and the slave. That communication that we have with Allah every time we recite the Fatiha. But whoever is ungrateful, the communication stops. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. Allah doesn't even finish the phrase. Whoever is ungrateful, then Allah is free of need. Whoever is grateful for himself. Allah didn't even say whoever is ungrateful will only harm himself. He doesn't even repeat the guy's mention because he's not worth it. If he forgot Allah, why should he be remembered? Allah only talks about himself. He says, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. These two names of Allah at the end are also very important before we go into the father and son conversation. Allah Azza wa Jalla calls Himself Ghani, someone who doesn't need anybody. Ghina is also used for wealth in the Arabic language. And the implication is someone so wealthy that they don't need anybody else. They're completely independent. Nowadays we call it financially independent. But ghina is really independence in every way. You're not dependent on anybody in any way, shape or form. Now usually, are there people that in the world are wealthy, rich, independent? Yes, you'll find examples of that. And are those kinds of people usually praiseworthy? Do they do good things with their money? Rarely. You can have a lot of cases of people that have ghina, they are ghani, but what they do isn't worthy of praise. And on the other hand, you can have people that were very praiseworthy before they got rich. And when money hit, then they started developing qualities that they didn't have in them before, and they lost their hamd. They're not praiseworthy anymore. Allah Azza wa Jalla combines both of those attributes in Himself. He doesn't need anybody, and He's worthy of praise constantly. Why mention these two attributes? When Allah Azza wa Jalla, thank you so much. Good looking out, Shaykh. Oh God. It's these interrogation lights, I tell you. Okay. So, I was going to tell you guys. Is it? No, it's okay. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. The word Hamid I want to focus on a little bit. In the Arabic language, someone who is praised is Mahmud. The Arabic word is Mahmud. And that's called an ism maf'ul. Without getting too technical, what that means is the one who gets praised. The one who gets praised. Now when you say the one who gets praised, a question rises. What's the question? Like I say, the one who got beat up. What's the question? Who beat him up? Who beat him up? The one who got praised. What's the question? Who praised him? Allah Azza wa Jalla used the form Hamid. The form Hamid doesn't actually raise that question. Fa'il bima'na al-maf'ul. One difference is it doesn't even raise that question. In other words, whether someone's there to praise or not, he's still praised. You don't even have to ask that question. He is not in need of your gratitude. If you showed gratitude, you only did it for yourself. Allah didn't need your salah. Allah did not need you to wake up at Fajr on time. Allah did not need you to make dhuhr. Allah did not need you to do any of that stuff. Allah is already Hamid. And Hamid is also constant as opposed to Mahmud. And He's always been that way, and He is that way, and He'll always be that way. That is wisdom. To understand that you are obligated to be grateful to Allah, yet Allah doesn't need any of it. That combination is very hard, because some people, when they learn about deen, they learn about religion, they ask, why should I feel obligated to pray? Why does God need me to pray to Him? That question in and of itself is invalid because Allah calls Himself Hamid. He doesn't need you, and His hamd is already done. It's not something He's waiting for to happen. It's already done. It's always been there. It's always going to be there, regardless of whether we're around or not. This is wisdom. And with this wisdom now, this father wants to impart it to his child. The essence of it all is live a life of gratitude. Ibrahim alayhi salam, who we learned about in the previous talk, a summary of his life in the Quran, شَاكِرًا لِأَنْعُمِهِ. He was grateful to the favors of Allah. A father wants to impart into his child, be grateful. One of the biggest goals we have in our life to our children is to make sure they live a life of gratitude, that they appreciate what they have around them. But the way that the father is going to bring it up is what we're here to kind of appreciate. And I'm amazed by it, because the wisdom is not just in what Allah gave him, and wisdom is also in how a teacher teaches. وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ. At the very moment, if is actually, precisely highlights a moment in time. So Allah wants to zoom in on this very special moment between father and son. Luqman said to his son, وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ. Now you could say again, وَقَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ. Luqman said to his son. Allah says, when Luqman said to his son. Now the word when highlights a particular moment in time, yes? And then he adds something about that moment in time. This is called jumla haliya, وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ. At the very moment, and he was in fact the one, he was giving him counsel. You know what that suggests? You don't just talk to your son about deen or your children about deen at any time. You got to find the right moment. It's got to be that idh for you. It's got to be that opportunity. Your kid's heading off to hang out with friends, and you say, oh, your friends are waiting in the car outside? Come here, son, let me sit you down. Tawheed is very important. Yeah, Dad, I know, but the ball game's about this. No, son, listen, also, we believe in all of the prophets. Tell me all their names. Dad, I can't talk right now. I got class. I got to do something. It's not the time to do it, because this is such a valuable lesson. You don't want your son to undermine it. You have to find the right opportunity. Maybe he's sitting, he came to you for advice, or you're having lunch together, or you went on a road trip or something, and the opportunity presented itself for you to open up this conversation at a time where it's going to be taken well. The other implication here, وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ. In Arabic, huwa is here additional, because يَعِظُهُ also has the subject, he was advising him. Huwa not only makes it the time at which he was advising him, suggests he's the one who gave him counsel. In other words, he did not abandon his son and buy him, get him a room, get him a PlayStation, get him an iPod, get him a phone, get him an internet connection, get him a car, let him live his life, and once in a while maybe check on how his grades are, etc., etc., so that he can get advice about life. Yo bro, should I call her back? Yeah, B, call her back. So he doesn't get advice from anywhere else. He gets it from, he, in fact, is the one that's advising him. That counselor role, that advising role, is actually coming from the father. We learn two sides of that in the Quran. On the one hand, the father goes out of his way to make sure when my son needs advice, I'll be there for him. I'm the one that counsels him. I'm the one that counsels him. And his wa'adh and his maw'idah is not limited to what he's saying here. It is as though they're in the middle of a long conversation, maybe about his career. Maybe about what the boy's up to nowadays. Maybe what he wants to do in his future. He's in the middle of all kinds of advice, and in the middle of it somehow he finds a tactful way of slipping in. Son, listen, there's one thing I really want to tell you. This is tact. Two farmers in Surah Al-Kahf are talking. They don't just knock on each other's door and one says, Ana aktharu minka malan, I have more money than you. I just wanted to let you know that, in case you forgot somehow. No, وَهُوَ يُحَاوِرُهُ. In the middle of conversation, he slipped it in. He kind of just inserted it in there somewhere. That's also wisdom. To find the right opportunity to bring something up. Yusuf alayhi salam displays that wisdom. He doesn't go to the prisoners and say, by the way, since I am here, I should tell you what my lineage is. And, they came to him. And you know what happens when people look religious, they come to them with their personal problems. Hey, you look like you're spiritual. I saw a dream. Could you figure it out for me? Clearly you would know, you have a beard. Right? So and he uses that opportunity. This father knows, it's not any time. Your son, when our children are little, they're at our disposal. I say, Husna, she'll come over here. She better come over here. Walid, come over here. Yes, Abba. Put that down, we'll put it down. But when children get bigger, they're not on our schedule. He's not going to jump and sit in your lap the moment you came home. He's a teenager now. Dad, I've got an assignment. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to go to work. I have a project to finish. They're not on your schedule anymore. And it can become frustrating for a parent that this same child whose diapers I changed, this same child that I fed with my hand, he says, I don't have time right now? Who are you? But this father is wise. He knows human beings change. There's growth. It happened to him too. So he's going to find the right time. وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ. And as he starts his advice, did you do your homework? You know when children get a little older, and kids get a little older, and his son could be young or small, and bunayya, the ism tasghir is used out of love. Your son could be 45, you can call him bunay, my little baby boy. You know, you can do that, it's fine. You know, my dad does it to me, and I'm going to do it to my children. You know, but the idea of him talking to his son with a term of endearment. Remember Ibrahim alayhi salam said, Ya abati, dear dad, Abajan, beloved father. He says to his son, my little boy, my beloved son. And you don't say my beloved son nowadays, like, you know, I'm going to follow the Quran. So I shall call my 14, 15-year-old and say, my beloved son. Your son will creep out. Come here, son. I love you so much. Even that'll creep him out, but less. Well, it won't be Shakespearean, you know. But to say to your son that you love him. My dad has this thing, for example. His way of showing love is he pats me on the head. He gets like, he doesn't know what to do, so he just pats me on the head. And that's his ya bunayya. It just melts me when he does that. He could yell at me all he wants, after that I'll be smiling because he patted me on the head. A father's show of affection is something special. And Allah does not mention the mother's show of affection because it comes to her naturally. Dads have a hard time doing that. It takes a lot of wisdom from good old dad to leave the authoritarian, take the authoritarian hat off and be kind, loving, merciful. Put your arm around your boy. Pat him on the head if you have to. Give him a hug. Tell him you love him. And then you start a conversation. The effects are entirely different. The effects are entirely different. Don't go there, and son, I love you. Don't go there. There's a difference. It makes it, this is wisdom. Ya bunayya, la tushrik billah. Don't do shirk with Allah. He didn't even teach him of other, you know, there's so many things, do's and don'ts, and he's going to talk about do's and don'ts later. But he starts with don't violate Allah's rights. I'm paraphrasing here. Do right by Allah. Do right by Allah. Parents usually talk about do right by me. Listen to me, I'm your dad. Don't you know what the Quran says about fathers? Don't you know what it says about parents? And they go to the ayat afterwards. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حُسْنًا. The father says, take care of Allah's rights. Don't do shirk with him. He starts with the biggest problem there is. And also the easiest problem. In some sense, shirk is the hardest problem to solve. In some sense, it's the easiest problem to solve. All the other aspects of do's and don'ts in Islam, maybe they're but the one aspect we all Muslims share. One thing we equally hate and try to stay away from is shirk. He starts with that. Don't do wrong with Allah. Don't do shirk with Allah. Don't associate with Allah. Inna shirka la dhulmun azim. No doubt shirk is a really bad injustice. I found something really interesting. الظلم باللغة العربية كما تعرفون وضع الشيء في غير محله. You know, ظلم in Arabic is to put something where it doesn't belong. So you talk about Allah as you shouldn't. You believe about Allah what you shouldn't. It's shirk. And one of the definitions of hikmah I found is وضع الشيء في محله. To put something where it belongs. So wisdom is like tawheed. We put Allah's rights where they belong, and that is the height of wisdom. And that's practically manifest in being grateful to Him. And the opposite of grateful to Him is you're not grateful enough to Him, you do shirk. You know, shukr and shirk, the play on words here is beautiful too. Now before Allah even takes us further into this conversation, and I don't know how much time I have, 5 minutes left. This is enough, 5 minutes is enough for me, inshallah. I want to share with you what Allah does. Allah gave this man wisdom. He called his son and made time for him, and softly used the opportunity to talk about Allah a little bit. But before even going further, Allah started talking about the rights of parents. Not the obligations of parents, the Rights of parents. The passage began, a wise father fulfilling his duty of giving counsel to his children. It was about the obligations of parents. But the parent told the child, take care of Allah's rights. And Allah is so happy with that Allah interjects in the middle of this passage. It's no longer Luqman talking, it's Allah talking. And Allah says, you better take care of your parents' rights. Because your parents taught you to take care of my rights. You don't have to teach your children to respect you. Allah will teach them that. You just teach them about Allah. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حُسْنًا أو بِوَالِدَيْهِ. We gave the human being, we advised strongly, we counseled the human being that he should be in regards to both his parents. Man, Allah told us about our parents. You tell your children about Allah, and Allah will tell your children about you. So awesome. And then, who was talking, father or mother? You remind me quickly. Father, حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامَيْنِ. But when it comes to taking care of your parents, his mother carried him. She fed him for 2 years. She got weaker and weaker and weaker. The conversation began, both parents. The ayah began, Allah gave counsel about both parents. But then the middle, the thick of the ayah is all about the mother. All about the mother. And at the end of it again, أَنِشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكَ. Be grateful to me and both your parents. Allah says, be grateful to me and be grateful to both your parents. He put the same verb, he didn't even repeat the verb. أَنِشْكُرْ لِي وَاشْكُرْ لِوَالِدَيْكَ. أَنِشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكَ. He commanded with one verb, both, being grateful to him and both parents. But the last mystery I want to help solve with you, this gem that's inside this ayah, this treasure that's inside this ayah, is the difference between walid and ab. You know, in the Arabic language, you have and ab, mother, ab, father. And walid and walida also father and mother. But walid literally means biological parents, and it highlights the aspect of you being born. Allah Azza wa Jal began, be grateful to both your, and I'll just say the crude language, be grateful to both your biological parents. We give you strong counsel about your biological parents. Allah Azza wa Jal is highlighting the fact that the people that Allah made a means to bring you into this earth, no matter what complaints you have against them, you will still do right by them. And especially the labor part is done with the mother. Whose labor comes later on in life? The father's. The father's labor is to give counsel and be patient against his best ability. He can lose his temper very easily, but his labor is already mentioned. So now it's time to mention the mother's labor. The mother's already done her part early on, before the baby even came out. And as the child is growing up, the father's time to do work. But on the children's point of view, doesn't matter if your parents, you think they did a good job or not, that's besides the point. So long as they're the ones responsible, you were born in their household, your obligations to them don't change. Even if they do shirk. Even if they do shirk. وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا. Even if they do shirk, even if they are that family. I have friends that became Muslim and their parents are Hindu. They don't cut the relationship with their parents. They go visit the house, and their house has several rooms, have idols in them, and they do rituals. And you know how disturbing it is for a Muslim to watch those rituals? How you might not even want to throw up when you see one of those things. You could sense the presence of the shayateen. But they go and they cook for their parents, and they stay with them, and they advise them respectfully, and they don't cut relations, and they don't say, no, they got aqidah issues. You can't have bigger aqidah issues than shirk with idols in your house. But they don't cut relations. They don't follow them, but they don't cut relations. The role of fathers is what I wanted to highlight, what I really wanted to bring to your attention. And I wanted to bring to your attention how Allah Azza wa Jal, in His wisdom, when He talks about one point of view, He balances it with the other point of view. And then He'll go on. I have about 1 minute left, and I'll share with you one last thing from the advice that Luqman gave to his son. Done? Am I done? That's the sign says done. Okay, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. You know, when the father gave his advice, his son advice, he didn't just tell him to be good. He told him to be a contributor to society. Ya bunayya aqim as-salah wa'mur bil ma'ruf wanha 'anil munkar وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ. Command the good. Establish prayer. That's for yourself. Command the good. Forbid the evil. You've heard these phrases before, maybe in a khutbah, but the father is saying it. The father is saying, son, you will be a force of good in society. Daughter, you will bring good to society. Allah expects more from you than just to feed your mouth and run a household. Allah wants you to be a source of betterness in the world. His father is producing a leader. He's producing someone who takes responsibility for what goes on around him. A person caring not just about his own family, but caring about other families too. This is Amr bil Ma'ruf, this is Nahi Anil Munkar. And be ready for those challenges, son. And he even does this in the most loving fashion. We're learning that if we raise our children with love and compassion and find the right times to talk to them, by Allah's mercy, we're going to lead and we're going to raise a generation of leaders. We're going to raise a generation of leaders that are in and of themselves going to be manifestations of Allah's wisdom. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us all people of wisdom, and may Allah make all of the fathers here do their job right, including myself. May Allah make the children in our audience be respectful, kind, courteous children, and may Allah put love between all of our hearts. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.